Hello, my name is Studios and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about why Doctor Who is not a kids show. Now, this is all as part of an effort to try and make more video essay based videos this year. I'm going to try and make a video essay type video every week or every 2 weeks, probably this is latter. Forging the Cybermen Part 2 is on the way. It is my favourite project from the last year and I can't wait to get the second part out. It definitely gets a lot weirder, but I think it's also funnier at the same time. But anyway, let's go back to what I'm actually talking about today. I was always told that Doctor Who was a kid show because, well, I was a kid and obviously it's a family viewing show so everyone watches it, and it definitely is a kid show. There's a very thin line between kid show and family show, but it still has the ability to capture hearts young and old. And that's something that no other show really has. So obviously a lot of people think it's a kids show, especially the BBC News. Surprise, surprise, Doctor Who is a kids show. Next they'll be saying that Daleks are a metaphor for hatred. Like, so rumours that Jodie's leaving Doctor Who are still currently ongoing, and we still don't have a clear answer, even though items seem to point in either direction. But in this interview they are talking about the papers, right? And they're talking about the stories that are on the papers, so most of them are political, but occasionally you get something that is entertainment based or something like that, and they don't really know how to handle it. So Doctor Who is not really something that they know much about.
Jodie Whittaker calling it time on her time as the Time Lord. Are you a Doctor Who fan, Tony?
No, not particularly, because it's a children's programme.
Doctor Who is not a kids show. And here's why. I mean, this topic is completely satirized and I don't know why, but I feel like I need to talk about it anyway. Daleks, for example, they're a metaphor for hate. Therefore, oh, it's a kid show. Kid shows are like Fifi and the Flower Tops or Bill and Ben. That's like early 2000s. That kind of stuff. They are kids shows because they are simple entertainment with nothing particularly complex. They're to do with exploring your world. That's what a kid show is. A family show, and like I said, there's a very thin line. A clever family show will take things that are dark, such as violence or something like that, and be able to use it in such a way that it's suitable for all audiences. Oh look, it's the Daleks. I loved the Daleks as a kid. I didn't know they were like space fascists. The details are there if you look for them, but if you're not looking for them and you're a child that's watching Doctor Who and you see all the space monsters and the aliens and the Doctor running around, you're having a great time. And that's why it captures the hearts of so many people.
No, not particularly, because it's a children's programme.
I love the way he, with such conviction, like he's almost insulted by the statement that he would watch Doctor Who. It's like the man's just been asked whether he watches CBeebies and he goes, no, it's for kids. I don't know why he's so insulted by that. Maybe he thinks Game of Thrones is for 12-year-olds. So, who do you think will be the 14th Doctor?
So it'll be really interesting to see who they choose to act in this children's programme next, whether it'll be Dame Judi Dench or whether it'll be some ingenue who's going to make their name with it. It'll be interesting to see.
And the other interviewee?
I think it will be somebody young, fresh, and possibly it'll be a YouTuber or somebody who will bring with him a fresh fan base.
Maybe they thought it didn't matter because all the children are in bed before midnight. Oh, it mattered. We're a fickle bunch. I mean, these poor people, they clearly didn't know what they were talking about and they say it with such conviction. Basically like most politicians. But before I turn into a young Jonathan Pye, you do realise that a lot of Doctor Who is rated 12. Most of the things on my shelf, especially the older ones, are rated 12, and they seem to know what the difference is and what they can get away with. Even though they have the 12 rating, they seem to be able to be perceived as a children/family based show when, you know, shows like The Musketeers, its first series was a 12, and yet I wouldn't call it a kid show. Originally, that's all I wanted to talk about, the over-satirized idea that Doctor Who is a kid show when really it talks about items that are not kid-like. Ideas of hatred, racism, fascism, the idea of body horror in the things such as the Cybermen, all of that, and yet it still becomes a kid show. It's really quite magical how it can survive that kind of stuff. I think there's a little bit more to it than just calling it a kid show, and this idea, this interview, brought this up in my head. It's a family kid show, and yet a lot of the time they market it towards adults, and I'm not talking about the show itself, but I'm talking about certain items. For example, the collection box sets. I would never let any child, whether it is my own or not, go anywhere near this thing. Or any of the ones I own, because these things are beautifully made and the durability of this thing is not really that good. So really it's not designed for kids who are used to playing with Lego. I play with Lego. People break this by accident. It's not kid-proof. I'm going to put that there because I can't be asked to put it back in the shelf. Box sets like this that are limited to 4,000 copies. Do you know who cares about that? Not the children, the adults, the people that buy them, the collectors. They care about this kind of stuff. Who cares about the collection box sets? The collectors, because they can sell them for ridiculous prices on eBay. We'll be talking about that in a future video. The Eagle Moss figures. I would not let a child near one of them because they're incredibly delicate. I'm sure they'll break apart instantly. Items like that are all designed really for adults, or at least, you know, teenagers. A maturity level has to be gained in order to have these items, because otherwise they'll be smashed to bits and you won't appreciate them as a young child unless you're a very mature child. None of that mattered to me when I was a kid, because really when I was a kid I was quite happy to pop bubble wrap. So with all those items, Doctor Who is definitely a children's programme, right? The BBC know that adults have money. You know, parents would have to pay for the items for the children, so making products directly aimed at the parents means that they're more likely to buy the item. Instead of getting the parent to buy the items for the child, the parent is buying the items for themselves, or in my case the teenagers are buying themselves the items because they're hoarders. These are duplicates. I think the target audience for Doctor Who has evolved and has become a more of a child, teenager kind of age. Doctor Who was always universal, but I think that a lot of the marketing with those collection box sets, with those figures and everything like that, are designed for people with a bit more money than your average 10-year-old. I've said before in videos that you basically need a full-time income to be able to afford Doctor Who stuff. Time Lord Victorious is an example of that. And who can blame them, because they make an awful lot of money off these people. Big Finish releases, for example. Do you know what I did the Sunday that Christopher Eccleston was announced to do Big Finish? I went and pre-ordered the whole bunch on CD. It cost me about £90. But I did that because I knew I was going to enjoy them. When I was a kid, I didn't care about that. I didn't care about pre-orders or anything like that. All I cared about was the items that I was playing with, and if I didn't have them at that moment, I didn't care about it. So do you agree with me? Do you think Doctor Who's become more of a child-adult kind of show, or do you think that it still remains a kid show to this day? I really appreciate it if you were to tell me that you enjoyed this video, because I'm kind of testing the waters of doing this kind of more researched and topical based with conclusions and all of that kind of video. So I want to see whether people like it, and I plan to continue doing them because they are really fun to do and I do feel really clever. That is all for me for now, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.